Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode until the question and answer session of today's conference. At that time, you may press star 1 on your phone to ask a question. Today's conference is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I will now turn the conference over to Lori Margolin. Thank you. You may begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As the operator said, my name is Lori Margolin, and I am the Dean for Continuing Education and Workforce Development at Hudson County Community College. Welcome this afternoon. Thank you for participating in our webinar, Recovering from COVID-19, Key Census Bureau Programs and Tools to Guide Business Recovery. Our presenter today is our friend, our partner, and expert, Andy Haight from the United States Census Bureau. Mr. Haight is an economist and served as the Data Product and Data User Liaison in the Economic Management Division of the U.S. Census Bureau. With over 30 years of service at the Bureau, Andy advises on economic data products and conducts data user training and outreach for the Economic Census and Census Bureau's other monthly, quarterly, and annual economic survey programs. He is the lead designer and coordinates development of Census Business Builder, an innovative data tool that presents selected demographic, business, and other data in a user-friendly, map-based interface. Mr. Haight holds a bachelor's degree in economics from Syracuse University and has a master's certificate in project management from George Washington University. And although Mr. Haight does not currently live in New Jersey, he has a strong connection to northern New Jersey, which I will let him share with you. I can confidently say that you will leave this webinar with actionable information and a newfound curiosity about data that will help you make decisions during these unprecedented and difficult times we are experiencing. Please note that you can chat during the presentation, and as stated, there will be a live Q&A after the presentation. You will also receive a link to the recording and a copy of Mr. Haight's presentation. And before I turn it over, I would like to also thank the college's other outstanding partners. I would like to thank our partner, Michelle Richardson from the Hudson County Economic Development Corporation, and Luis De Laus from the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. They both represent organizations that work hard every day to support business, and along with Hudson County Community College are here to support and assist you. After our main presentation, we will hear briefly from our host organizations and then have ample time for questions. Andy, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Lori. Again, my name is Andy Haight. I know it says Andrew on the slide, but I only get called Andrew when I'm in trouble. So for today, I'm going to be Andy. And as Lori said, I'm an economist. I work at the Census Bureau. I've been at the Bureau for almost 33 years, which is a little scary to think. But I've spent my entire career working in what we call our economic directorate, which is the part of the Census Bureau that is responsible for all of our business surveys. As Lori said, I have a strong connection to New Jersey. I was actually born in New Brunswick, spent the first 3 or 4 years of my life there, and I have had family living in northern New Jersey for my entire life. My grandparents both lived in Newark, and my aunt and uncle, my Thea Mary, Greek side of the family, lived in West Orange. And my aunt currently lives in Livingston. I actually grew up in the New York area in Westchester County, but I spent a lot of time in northern New Jersey. So this very much is like coming home and doing webinars for Hudson County Community College and the Economic Development Corporation. So thank you all for taking time out of your busy day to hear me talk about these resources. So to kind of get us started, I want to talk a little bit about the Census Bureau. I'm sure most of you, hopefully all of you on the phone and on the webinar today have already completed your 2020 population census form. If you have not filled it out yet, I would ask you to please do so. The Decennial Census, our population census, is the largest program that we conduct at the Census Bureau. In fact, during the normal conducting of the decennial census, we are the second largest employer in the United States, second only to the Department of Defense. This census is a little different than previous ones because of COVID-19. We actually don't currently have all the field workers out there currently because of COVID closures, but I know that there are plans to get those people out there really sort of pounding the pavement to improve response rates. But the decennial census is just one of the things that we do. We conduct more than 130 different monthly, quarterly, and annual programs each and every single year. Every 10 years, we do the decennial census, but every year we do something called the American Community Survey, or the ACS. The ACS is a fantastic resource of demographic, socioeconomic, and housing data that can help people do a variety of things. It can help small business owners understand their potential markets for their products. I talked to a lot of business owners over the year, and a lot of those users, a lot of those business owners are very familiar with some of their customers. They know something about their market, but they're often very surprised when they learn that they're actually sort of their ideal customers in other areas where they're currently not marketing their business. These data can be really valuable not only during good times, but they can certainly be valuable and important during challenging times, as we are right now during this COVID pandemic. When I think about the businesses that have been able to survive COVID-19, many of them have been able to do so because they truly understood their market. They knew how to use data to understand where their customers are located, and they knew how to market their products to those customers in the most appropriate way and to be agile, to be able to adjust their marketing plans based upon the changing community, the changing nature of the landscape. For example, restaurants that used to only provide their services via sit-down service, when COVID hit and they suddenly now had to change the way that they're doing business to start allowing people to carry food out or to deliver the food to them, those businesses have had a much harder time of responding to COVID-19 than businesses that always knew that many of the customers of their restaurant were folks who get home late at night. They're just too tired after spending a long day of work to then go out to dinner. So they want to be able to pick up their food. They want to get it delivered. So those types of businesses that were already providing those types of services had, in a way, a leg up. And the American Community Survey is a fantastic program to provide that sort of demographic characteristics of your markets. In addition to those demographic programs, though, we also conduct 58 different business surveys. That's the Census Bureau side of the Census Bureau that I'm most familiar with. Every 5 years, we do a complete economic census. 2017 was our latest economic census year. We're actually in the midst of releasing the data from the 2017 Econ Census, but we also do a wide variety of other monthly, quarterly, and annual programs. And again, like the American Community Survey, understanding the demographics of your customers is important, but so is understanding the economics of your competition, the economics of your suppliers. Businesses that understand how many other businesses that are like them are out there, what their employment is, what their payrolls are, how much do they pay their employees, what their sales are, and some other characteristics. Those types of businesses that know how to use our business data have a leg up on others. So I've done a number of workshops and webinars for the folks in Hudson County, our hosts today, and we've done a number of presentations on tools like Census Business Builder that Lori mentioned that I'm the project lead on. Today, however, we're going to talk about some other programs that we actually created in just the last few months to provide additional statistics above and beyond what is available from programs like the American Community Survey and the Economic Census and our other monthly and quarterly programs to help businesses recover from and actually grow from this COVID-19 pandemic. So the very first of those programs that I want to talk about is something called Business Formation Statistics. Now, BFS is a program that we've actually had at the Census Bureau for years. As you can see on this slide, this program has been around since 2007 and historically had always produced annual statistics on business formations. Business formations are what we typically think of as startups. Businesses that said, I'm ready to get started, and they then contact the Internal Revenue Service or the Social Security Administration to get an employer identification number, to get their business actually formally started with the IRS. We receive every single week information from the IRS on business formations that have occurred during that previous week, and for years, since 2007, we've been aggregating those weekly files into annual data products. But when we started coming into the COVID pandemic, we realized that not only were existing businesses likely being impacted, but so were startups. There were a lot of businesses out there that were saying, you know what, I'm not going to get started on this business. I'm not going to actually apply to the IRS for the EIN because right now is not just a good time to get that business started. And we started seeing our business formations, the data that we were pulling from the IRS every week. We were starting to see an impact on that data back in March. So we created an experimental data product that takes this annual program and now produces statistics every week. What you're seeing on the slide is a visualization that we've actually created that lets users go in and look at business applications by type. There's 4 different types of applications. It allows them to select a particular state or a particular week, and it then presents information about how many applications have come in during that particular week. If you were to look at this applications early on in the COVID pandemic, let's say in week 20, 18, whatever, you would have seen a marked decline in the number of business applications because companies were saying, I'm going to put it on hold. We've actually now released data through week 48, I believe we're at now. It's hard to believe how old this slide is. I need to update my slides here. But what we're beginning to see already is a recovery. We're starting to see businesses that had suspended their business application, their startup of their business, are now beginning to recover. And we're starting to see an increase back to what the numbers were like before. This is a great program because it gives local economic development officials and others insight into what's happening with startups in their areas. The data in here are shown at the national and state level, but you can also see we do publish regional level data. For New Jersey, I think actually the state data is probably better, but there's also been some talk about potentially expanding this program to provide even more detailed data. On the slide, I have provided a link to our BFS website, which is where this visualization is located, and I would very much encourage you all to check that out. The next program I want to talk about is something called the Small Business Pulse Survey. When we were thinking about the types of businesses that were likely being impacted by COVID, we recognized that there were certainly large and medium-sized businesses that were being impacted. We probably have all heard the talk about how the airline industry is really just getting hammered. Frankly, I don't know how anybody is getting on an airplane today. I know that all of the conferences that I was supposed to have done this summer have been canceled or have been converted over to virtual conferences only. So all of our travel in my agency has been suspended all the way through the end of this fiscal year. But not only are big businesses and medium-sized businesses being impacted, but we also knew that small businesses were especially being impacted. Now, our small businesses are published as part of our monthly, quarterly, and annual programs, but they're buried in with all the other businesses, with those medium and large guys. So we said, you know what, we really need to do something to capture more detailed information specifically on the small guys. In my 32, almost 33 years at Census, I frankly have never seen us being able to stand up a survey as quickly as we have stood up this pulse survey. From initial inception through final approval by the Office of Management and Budget and to our first dissemination, we did all that in 68 days. That is a blink of an eye in the federal time frame. So I'm really proud. I'm very happy for my colleagues at Census who are able to do all that work to create a survey, get approval to conduct it, get it out on the street, collect the information of about 1 million small businesses over this 9-week rotation, and actually begin to publish key statistics on how small businesses are being impacted. Now, the Small Business Pulse Survey asks a number of questions of these small businesses. It asks them questions about the overall impact that they have faced due to COVID-19, and it asks them specific questions like, did you temporarily have to close? Did your supply chain get affected by COVID-19? Have you had to change the way you provide your products or goods or services to your customers? Like, for example, are you now offering pickup or carry-out or delivery service for your business that you didn't offer before? Has the cash that you have on hand changed? We ask those kinds of questions, and we ask businesses to report what their impact was. Were they greatly affected by it? Were they not affected, et cetera? What you're seeing on the screen right now is a screenshot of the Small Business Pulse Survey data visualization. Again, I provided a link to the page at the bottom of the screen. As you can see, statistics are shown at the national and state levels. And as you can see on the right-hand side, they are broken out by industry sector. It should come as no surprise to any of you on the call today that NAICS 72, North American Industry Classification System Code 72, which is the second to last bar on the right, is the one that has seen the largest impact due to COVID-19, due to the pandemic. 72 is the accommodation and food services sector. So those restaurants in northern New Jersey that have had to shut down, or those hotels that have had to shut down, or those that have finally reopened but are now only doing carry-out and delivery type services, they've really taken a major hit, and this type of information helps kind of quantify how much of a hit they've taken. What percentage of small businesses in New Jersey, restaurants in New Jersey, have been impacted, and how have they been impacted? Looking at this chart on the right, I was not surprised at all to see that NAICS 72 was greatly impacted. NAICS 61 is the educational services sector. That certainly is being impacted greatly by all this. So I was not surprised to see those sectors, but I was quite interested to see NAICS 22, which is the second bar, which is the utility sector, has had almost no negative impact. NAICS 52, which is the financial insurance sector, has had more of an impact than 22, but still way below the national average. And NAICS 55, which is management of companies and enterprises, company headquarters, have also similarly not been as greatly affected. So when you're thinking about the mixture of businesses in Hudson County, and you're thinking about the distribution of these accommodation and food services businesses versus other types of businesses, understanding the statistics on which ones are being impacted and which ones are not, or which ones are being impacted more than other ones are, can be very, very important when we're thinking about focusing the attention, focusing funding on those types of businesses that are being impacted more than others. These statistics help actually make the case that the lion's share of that funding ought to be going to businesses classified in NAICS 61, 62, 71, and 72. So those four sectors are sort of the biggest impact. Now, in addition to the Small Business Pulse Survey, We also then realized that we probably ought to do something that on a weekly basis provides information about how households have been impacted by COVID-19. It's important to know how businesses are being impacted, but we also wanted to be able to say, how has people's households been impacted? So similar to the Small Business Pulse Survey, we created a household pulse survey that collects information over the last couple of weeks that asks households across the United States how they've been impacted by COVID-19. It asks them questions like, did your household lose employment income? Have you experienced any type of food scarcity because you're not able to get out of your house to get food? Or maybe you don't have the money to go out and get food. Have you had to delay medical care that you would have otherwise had done, a physical like I was supposed to have done about 3 months ago that I couldn't do because the doctor's office was closed? Did I experience any kind of housing insecurity? Was I unable to pay my rent and had to get some special dispensation from my landlord to say that, yes, I'm not going to kick you out, Andy? These kinds of questions are asked in the Household Pulse Survey, and as you can see, the information, again, are published at the national and state level and provides information that compares the data over time to see, are we getting better? Is this situation improving over the last weeks or not? Now, one point I did not make for the Small Business Pulse Survey is the original approval to conduct the Small Business Pulse Survey covered this program for a 9-week period. That period ended 2 weeks ago, and in the next couple of weeks, we are in the process of actually creating phase 2 of the Small Business Pulse Survey. So many of you may be thinking, wow, it's good to see what's been happening since the beginning of the pandemic, but I want to be able to see how our business is continuing to respond, how long their response is going to continue. So we have gotten approval to conduct a second phase of the Small Business Pulse Survey to continue to collect this type of information and actually to collect some additional statistics, some additional questions that we didn't ask originally. Right now there's a question about whether or not the same thing's going to happen with the Household Pulse Survey, but I do think that it's likely that it will happen. Again, I've provided links to both the Household Pulse Survey visualization down there at the bottom of the slide, this Data Tools Demo HHP URL, as well as to the raw data. So if any of you want to actually download these statistics and be able to use them in your own visualizations, they're available as well. Now, as we were running these 3 brand new surveys, we also realized that we were really going to have to do something to make it easier for people to access these data. Making people go in and find the data they need through those 3 new programs and through the dozen or so of other programs that we have at Census that we knew people were going to want to turn to get information about COVID-19 and how businesses and people were being impacted was going to be sort of mean. We needed to do more. So back in April, we released a brand new COVID-19 hub. And what you're seeing right now are screenshots of the first 2 portions of this hub. What I'm now going to do is I'm now going to jump out of here, and we're actually going to go in here live, and I'm going to do a live demo of the COVID-19 hub. So this is the Census Bureau's homepage, www.census.gov. To get to the new COVID resources, you scroll down, and there's that hideous coronavirus image that we're all probably sick of seeing by now. When you click on that image, it launches our COVID coronavirus pandemic resource page. On this resource page, we have direct links to those programs like Business Formation Statistics, Small Business Pulse Survey, the Household Pulse Survey, and a variety of other types of links here at the bottom. And at the very top is the link to this data hub that we just talked about. When I click on that link, the application will launch, and it will immediately bring up a table that shows some basic statistics about total population age 65 and over, the uninsured population, and some business data. These are national level numbers. If I then scroll down, I come to that first part of the impact report, and I'm going to go ahead and actually open it in its own new tab so we can see it a little bit more clearly. This dashboard opens with 2 pages. The first page includes some basic demographic and economic data, so information about the population that's 65 and over, some health insurance coverage data, data about poverty status and other at-risk population characteristics, and then on the second page are additional demographic characteristics about communities that are being impacted by COVID-19. Now you'll notice that the application automatically defaults to New York State. New York started off as being sort of the epicenter, was being hit the hardest, but as we well know, many other states are being impacted, have been impacted, and some are actually being impacted today more than New York ever was. I just heard last night that Texas has now surpassed New York in terms of the total number of COVID cases. But of course, you all aren't interested just in New York. You want to go in and actually look at data specifically for New Jersey. So I can scroll down through this menu. The application will now allow me to choose the state of New Jersey, and the dashboard is now going to refresh, showing statistics about New Jersey. Now, of course, the data are available not only at the state level, but it also allows you to go in and look at specific counties. So if I choose Hudson County from this menu, once again, the dashboard is now going to refresh, and it's now going to show me information on the people that live in Hudson County. Again, when we're thinking about how we are all recovering from this, making sure that we are focusing our efforts on recovery, that we are sending out resources, monies, et cetera, to the people who are most likely being impacted, by the businesses that are most likely impacted. These types of statistics that are shown in here can help guide those decisions. For example, in Hudson County, if I wanted to find out what types of businesses are likely the ones that are being most impacted, I can click on that. And what we're now looking at is the top 20 industries in Hudson County in terms of those that have been impacted. There are 15,666 people who work in restaurants and other eating places in Hudson County, New Jersey. Those almost 16,000 people certainly are being greatly impacted by this. In addition to them, there's another 7,200 people that work in hospitals in Hudson County. So again, understanding the potential impacts to people and to businesses is really important. Now below this first part of the report is a brand new section that we just added last week. This hub keeps evolving. And so one tip, one comment I want to make to you all is, as you are using the data, if there are statistics that you don't see in this product, in this tool, that you think would be very useful, please, please, please let us know. So we've created a separate dashboard just for the business formation statistics that presents those information on business startups. And once again, we can kind of go in and drill down at the national level, at the state level, and at the county level to look at information on business startups. So as you can see, the map is currently building. I can zoom specifically in on the state of New Jersey. So let's go ahead and do that. And now I'm going to actually be able to go and actually look at data specifically for New Jersey. So the dashboard will refresh, the map will refresh, and that other information. I mentioned before that you can see that the recovery is occurring. If I were to choose one of the earlier weeks during this year, so here's week 21, you can see how many applications there were in week 21 of 2006 through 2020. But we can now see when we go to the most recent week, which is week 29, you can see that there's now been quite a recovery in New Jersey, in the nation. It's defaulted back to the nation with 122,000 businesses having started up in just that this week 29. So quite an increase. Businesses are starting to recover. Going back over to the hub, we come to the third portion of the resources. These are some highlighted census programs, that Household Pulse Survey, Small Business Pulse Survey, and another survey that we've created called the Community Resilience Estimates. Right now, these links just bring us out to the particular program page for that Pulse Survey. So if I go out to the Small Business Pulse Survey, I can then click on View the Published Results. And once again, here is that data, and here is that table that I selected. So here is some information about the overall impact. Here's NAICS 72 that really has taken a beating. But if I now go ahead and I want to look at one of those other statistics, let's look at the number of businesses that have changed how they deliver their products, pick up and carry out delivery. You can clearly see, once again, NAICS 72 has had a great impact of that particular to that particular sector. Eventually, we will be actually incorporating all of this data directly in this hub rather than you have to jump out to some other place to get it. Now, so far, we've been looking at data at the state and county levels, but we've also created these demographic and economic maps. What we're going to be looking at in a moment is some information from county business patterns, looking at the number of employer businesses. But if I wanted to look at specifically people that are living in poverty, this is a map that's going to show the percentage of people who are living in poverty. I can pan the map and zoom in specifically on New Jersey. And eventually, when the map then refreshes itself, it will then start to show county level data. And eventually, I can then drill down into even more detailed areas. So we are trying to make this information accessible to everybody. Now, this dashboard, this hub was created for us by Esri. And because they built this for us, all of the resources that you see in here are all accessible to you and downloadable to be included in your own reference map. So if you all work in organizations where you have GIS professionals, Geographic Information Systems people who know how to use the ArcGIS software, you can actually download all this information. It's already been included into shapefiles and put it right in your own particular products. Now, below there, we have some highlighted data sets. We not only recognize that people were going to want to be able to access this information in map formats, but they were going to want to be able to download it in Excel files and CSV files, etc. So again, we have more access to that raw data here as well. Here is some of that poverty information. When I click on it, it will allow me to go in right into ArcGIS, actually see the data available in the map, but I can also download the raw file from this map as well. And again, this allows me to drill in even further. It allows me to go all the way down to census tracts. Finally, at the very, very bottom of the page are then some categorical data set searches, again, that give further access to additional statistics that are not shown in the hub. So, for example, if you were looking at the hub and you noticed that we had a specific visualization that showed the percentage of people that were 65 and over by geography, some of you may have said, that made sense a couple of months ago when we first believed that it was mostly older people who were being impacted by COVID-19. But as we've now learned, younger people are not immune to it. In fact, the infection rate today of people under 40 is higher than those that are over 65. So being able to go in and actually look at more detailed demographic data by different age breakouts, other than the 65 and over that we put in the hub, this resource over here lets me go in and actually do that as well. So again, this is us trying to make these data more accessible to you. At the very bottom of the page, we have a nice little video that we did about how Census Bureau data are being used not only for COVID-19, but for other infectious diseases. And finally, at the very bottom of the page, we have links to a few other Census Bureau resources, including On the Map for Emergency Management, which is a tool that was created specifically to overlay data for population data on top of emergency management information, boundaries of hurricanes or flood areas, any area that has been declared a disaster declaration area. This tool allows you to look at those geographies and then look at the data for them and look at how many people were impacted by that particular flood. Here's a link to one of my favorite tools, Census Business Builder. I'm the data product owner of that product and the designer. And we've also included some data to links to the CDC's COVID-19 website, as well as the Health and Human Services Department's GeoHealth platform. So that was a very quick walkthrough of the COVID-19 hub. Let me jump back out to my PowerPoint slide to close us out today. So again, in addition to the resources that I just talked about, we also have Census Business Builder, which provides additional statistics that are not shown in the COVID-19 hub. These include some data that we are in the process of adding right now or updating right now that provides information on business ownership based upon the race, ethnicity, gender, and veteran status of the business owner. So in northern New Jersey, specifically in Hudson County, being able to look at how many of the businesses in Hudson County are Hispanic-owned, or women-owned, or veteran-owned, or Asian-owned. Those types of breakouts are all available from other Census Bureau data products. We have not included that data yet into the COVID-19 hub, but it is available in Census Business Builder. And then finally, the last tool I have here is our data.census.gov tool. This is our new enterprise data dissemination platform, and this has everything, all of the data from American Community Survey. We have about 90 of the ACS data variables in the COVID-19 hub. There's about 85 of them in Census Business Builder, but there's about 300 of them in data.census.gov. So being able to drill down and look at even more detailed information that you're not seeing in these other tools, you can do in data.census.gov. So I wanted to summarize, just say, again, we've got a wealth of information that we are trying to provide to help businesses and communities recover from COVID-19. To help them understand what were the areas that were most vulnerable to this pandemic, and to help those areas then recover from the pandemic. Understanding something about the workforce that lives in a particular area is very important, because then you can help focus attention, focus resources to help those folks recover. So with that, I want to say a very special thank you to you all, and I'd like to now turn it over, back over to Lori, so she can talk a little bit about her area and also introduce Michelle Richardson and Luis. So Lori, it's all yours.
Thank you, Andy. That was extremely informative in a really short period of time, and I can't wait to dive back into the data for myself. So thank you again. Excellent. So as I said at the beginning of the presentation, each partner is going to provide a brief introduction to their organizations and how we can assist you, and then we'll have a Q&A session on the presentation or any other questions that come up. So first, I'd like to introduce you to Hudson County Community College, if you're not familiar with it. We have community in our name because we are the community college. We're committed to serving the community and providing high-quality educational opportunities that promote student success, whether that student is completing a degree program or a local business owner learning a skill that will help them grow their business. We're a hub of business activity and offer a wide range of resources. There's no better time to take advantage of all the opportunities that are available. Make your toolkit as big as possible to give you options as you adapt to the new normal. And here are 4 specific ways that the college can assist. First, we offer a wide variety of business and computer courses, some at no cost. These include basic skills classes like Excel and Word, as well as higher level courses taught by experts in the field. Second, we work with businesses and are very entrepreneurial ourselves. We ask you to think about partnering with Continuing Ed to teach a class in your area of expertise and expand your customer base. We offer a wide range of online courses, business, computers, culinary, and others. As an example, this spring we offer classes in social media analytics and an introduction to e-commerce. We welcome the opportunity to partner with you. Classes are offered throughout day, evening, weekends, weekdays, and for the summer, they're all online. Third, connect with a student intern. Give a student a chance to gain valuable real work experience and meet your workforce needs at the same time, a real win-win. And lastly, we plan to continue to collaborate with our partners and bring you webinars focused on recovering from COVID-19 for business topics. Today's webinar is the first in the series. Please look for our second on health and safety considerations in business in September. And we're also happy to accept suggestions for future topics. All the webinars in the series will be free to attend. So for additional information on any of the items I mentioned, please go to the website that's on your screen right now. And thank you again for giving me the opportunity to introduce you to the college. And I turn it over to Michelle.
Thank you, Lori. And thank you, Andrew. I always enjoy Andrew's presentation, and I walk away learning something new and actually walk away with information that I can use within the EDC organization. Good afternoon to my fellow partners on this webinar today, and to all of you who took the time to join us on the call. We hope that you found the time you spent on today's webinar useful. You know, we set out to provide you with data to inform those next decisions you have to make and the go-forward strategy for your business. Since the onset of the pandemic, the Economic Development Corporation pivoted and focused on bringing our business constituents information and training on a timely and consistent basis. And we also focus on access to capital to help you stabilize your businesses and get on the road to recovery. So in addition to our regular annual Business Smarts training program, to date we've produced 2 webinars on funding and a 4-part business training that was intended to get you started on updating your business plan. I go back to remarks made by Andrew. You know, due to the changing landscape and the need to do business differently, on our 4-part training webinar, we were really encouraging the participants to go back and update the business plan. In terms of access to capital, with our lending partner, UCEDC, we've closed about $300,000 in 0% loans to Hudson County businesses seeking working capital to stabilize their business organizations. These loans were for up to $15,000 for 3 years, and the terms were really favorable. Our work is continuing. So keep checking back to our website. You see www.hudsonedc.org. Keep checking back to the website for upcoming funding programs. New programs are in the pipeline, both grant programs and 0% loans. We are a resource and an important source of information on federal, state, and county programs. All of this information is on our website. So if you want to get information direct to your inbox, go to our website and sign up for our constant contact email distributions. So with that, I thank you all again. I thank the partners. And now on to you, Luis.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Lori and Andy. This is a really special opportunity for us. I'm Luis de la Hoz. I'm the chairman of the board of directors of the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We are the voice of 120,000 Latino small business owners that call New Jersey home. And our stellar program, Hispanic Entrepreneur Training Program for Entrepreneurs, is hosted at the Hudson County Community College, thanks to the support of the Hudson County Economic Development Corporation. And we believe that the entrepreneurship is the best way that we have to overcome poverty as a community. And especially after COVID, I think that many people will decide to start their own business thanks to resources like the census that provide a lot of information. I remember 10 years ago how difficult it was for us to express how many business owners and how much was our contribution in terms of dollars, taxes, and employment. And thanks to the census, we was able to overcome that hurdle, and now it's easy to have this conversation with our partners. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and we are here to help.
Hello. Great. Thank you so much, Luis.
Yeah.
So, Lori, did we want to go ahead and see about taking some questions?
Yeah, great idea.
Okay. So let's see, operator, if we have any questions from any of our attendees on the phone.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, please press *1, unmute your phone, and record your name clearly. Your name is required to introduce your question. If you need to withdraw your question, press *2. Again, to ask a question, please press *1 and record your name. It will take a few minutes for the questions to come through, so please stand by.
Well, as we're waiting for any questions that might come in, I just want to remind you all that if you do have any questions that come to you after our webinar today, I have included my email address and phone number here on the slide. As you can tell, I am not shy, so please feel free to contact me on either the email address or my cell phone or my office phone number. Yes, my office phone number does forward to my cell phone, so no, it doesn't go to a dead letter office, a dead office that I have not been in for 3.5 or 4 months now. Again, please feel free to contact me if you have any questions.
And again, as a reminder, please press *1 on your phone and record your name if you do have a question.
Hey, Andy, this is Lori. While we're waiting for questions, because I know sometimes it takes a few minutes, is there, if you could boil it down to like what somebody should do first, after this webinar to really dive back in and get familiar with the data? Is there a place that's best to start?
Yeah, so certainly the COVID-19 Data Hub is a nice central repository because we've consolidated all that data into one place. You don't have to go to each individual program website to learn about that information. So that would be sort of my first step is to go into there. I also would very much encourage folks to check out Census Business Builder. As I said, very often the COVID data helps understand businesses that were vulnerable to this pandemic so that we could focus resources on those businesses, on helping them get stood back up again, but helping those businesses actually make some of those sort of informed decisions about their business, maybe doing some additional research to identify markets that they hadn't considered. A lot of that type of information is available in Census Business Builder. So, for example, I talked with an entrepreneur actually in Hudson County a couple of weeks ago who had attended one of our other sessions, and the person had asked me, their business makes sandals, and they were interested in identifying other potential markets for their products. And they wanted to know, was there anything that I could maybe recommend that they do? And I said, well, where do you currently sell your sandals? And they said, well, we manufacture them and then sell them to specific retail businesses in the northern New Jersey and New York metropolitan area. I said, okay, great. Do you sell anything online? Well, we're just getting started on it, but we're not quite there yet. Okay. Do you sell any products outside the United States? Dead silence. Oh, I never really thought about that I could have customers for my sandals outside the United States. Are there other businesses like me in New Jersey that make sandals that export them? I said, well, yeah, actually there may be. Let's look at some of our imports and exports data. As it turns out, over $380,000 worth of sandals are exported out of the Port Authority, New York, New Jersey, every single year. So yes, there are other businesses like hers that are actually exporting. So exploring the data to identify potential markets for your products, to think about maybe rethink your business, that's a key part of using the resources that we have. So hopefully that helped a little, Lori.
Yes, thank you. I think in going back to what Michelle mentioned about looking at the business plan, that in combination with the data, I think is really powerful in that it gives you ideas and actual information about how you can explore businesses that, you know, allow you to pivot but still stay within your expertise.
Right, absolutely. So, operator, did we get anybody brave enough to ask any questions on the phone today?
Can I ask a question?
Of course, please.
Yes. We know that the commerce agreement between Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. was signed recently. And for us as a community, is probably the biggest opportunity. I know that New Jersey trade like $10 billion with Mexico and Canada. Do you think that will be a really good opportunity post-COVID-19 for businesses to start thinking about those markets that are close by?
Yeah, absolutely. So the imports and exports data that I just mentioned, Luis, that we published at the Census Bureau, not only show the data on the industry and the commodity and the place, the port, the district where that product is being exported from or imported into. We not only show it that way, but we also show it by country of origination and destination. So if you wanted to know how much of a particular commodity was being exported to Canada or Mexico, that data are definitely available in our data products, and they are monthly statistics. So as this legislation was just passed, that hopefully will be relaxing some of the controls on products that we export to Canada and Mexico, hopefully we will begin to see the impact of that change on the monthly data. It's very timely information. For example, I'm a little bit of a beer nut, and when I was researching some data for a client or for a customer of ours, this business was a small family-run brewery, and they were considering exporting their beer, but they didn't know which countries were the primary beer export partners with the United States. So we actually did some research, and I was very surprised to see that Chile is actually our #1 partner in terms of exported beer. We export more beer to Chile than we do to any other country in the world, which I was quite fascinated why that was. I keep telling my boss I have to do more research on this and actually maybe go to Chile and figure out why they like American beer so much. Of course, he laughed at me and said, "You're crazy." But yeah, this is all about making those sort of identifying markets and making informed decisions about who to market your products to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we currently have no questions in queue. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, press *1 on your phone and record your name.
Okay. Well, I've got 2 o'clock right on the dot, so we actually were able to complete promptly on time. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy schedules. Lori, Michelle, Luis, would you like to say anything before we close this out?
Thank you very much for the presentation and for the attendees for joining us.
This is Michelle. Thank you so much for joining us. Keep an eye on our website, especially if you are still interested in grant opportunities, low interest, no interest loan opportunities. We are a source of information. Thanks again.
All right, and that concludes today's conference. Thank you for participating. You may disconnect at this time.